As you may have gathered, this is going to be a oversee of the recent, in fact last weekend, Zzap 64, Zzap Live Event, not Zzap 64, well Zzap 64 is what we know it as, but Zzap Live, there we go, an official tour t-shirt. Hello everybody, this is Retro Bear in the Gaming Pantry, and yes, we're going to have a synopsis of what happened at the weekend just gone over in the borough of Warwickshire, which you may or may not know actually has the symbol of a bear and a ragged staff as its emblem, so it's quite appropriate that me and Mrs Bear made our way across the M5, the M42 and the M40, down the A425 and ended up in Kenilworth for the first Zzap event. Now it's a Zzap 64, Commodore 64, it's a Commodore event at the end of the day, covering Commodore 64, 16, Amigas, CD32, all those other things that sort of flopped. but a really big event devoted to people who just enjoy all things Commodore. Now you may remember last year there was an event at Walsall Football Club which was based around the Spectrum. So it's only fair that having that one which went so very, very well, and if you remember that one, me and Mrs Bear were there helping Dana over at Hidden Chest on his stall for the day. This one we were actually paying patrons. Yeah, paying patrons. It was a little on the expensive side, but we'll get to the sort of wise wares and what hows. So nice to see they devote an event to Commodore, which is fantastic. I believe they're going to be doing an Amstrad one next year. They're trying to negotiate the rent of 2 sheds to accommodate all the people who like to go. I'm joking. I like the Amstrad. I like the Amstrad anyway. This one, as most people know, I have a regular, I would say a semi-regular or occasionally regular upload called Commodore Corner, where I play Commodore 64 games, because to me that's the system I grew up with through my friends, and my first computer was an Amiga, so technically speaking I am a Commodore kid. So it was held at the Holiday Inn over in Kenilworth, which is in the borough of Warwickshire, sort of South Coventry. About 45 minutes to get there from where we were. Ran from 10 till 6, and there was an evening event which I think was running from 7:30 till whenever people fell asleep. A couple of the people have done reviews. I'll stick links below to those people who have done so, because we've all got our own opinions about the day. I'm going to split this video up into a couple of sections, so what I'll do now is I'll move to some pictures that were taken on the day. Mrs Bear's taken all of these, so they come from Mrs Bear, so thank you for sending those across so we could use those. Showing you a variety of things that were on display. Also photographs of me with a couple of people from YouTube. I met quite a few, I met 4 or 5 people I think it was on the day. Obviously Sean Retro Games Revive, because I knew Sean was going. So you'll see him there. Finally got to meet Alex from Nintendo Arcade, who's now connected with the Retro Man Cave Museum, doing the arcades down there. Finally had a chance to meet Alex in person. So it was nice to have a quick chat with him. He was there with some arcade machines, including Arch McLean's very own millipede arcade cabinet. Of course, some of you may or may not know who Arch McLean was. He was a programmer for the Commodore 64. Sadly passed away Christmas last year. Probably the games he's best known for across a lot of different formats: Drop Zone, Jimmy White's Whirlwind Snooker. There's a couple of games he played in the Wii as well. Another game which you may have played, more recent ones that he did, was Mercury Meltdown Revolution, which if you haven't got it and you got a Wii, it's not 50p, it's a cracking game, cracking little puzzle game. He did lots of other games as well, but those are the ones he's probably most famous for. Drop Zone, I think, got converted to pretty much everything over the years. Says Alex, I caught up with Richard Tappenden, which is nice. I mentioned Richard a couple of times on this channel. Richard does Commodore gameplay on his. Actually, very, very quick hello. Wish I'd spend a bit more time with Richard that day. Sean introduced me to Matt, Witchfinder 76. Again, I'll put links to everybody who I'll speak about below. I've not met Matt before. It was nice to speak to him. we had a good old chinwag, a couple of conversations throughout the day, and hopefully look forward to seeing more of him in the future. I also met Mark, Judge Drock, very, very briefly. Didn't get a chance to spend a lot of time with him. Mark's quite a big figure on the Commodore scene. If you go over across to the Zzap Facebook page, which is linked to, he's done quite a few posts there. Not met Mark before, but I met him very briefly on the way in, and unfortunately, everything else didn't get a chance to have a proper chat with him. And also met Benny over at Playmore 64, who I shouted out recently as well. He got in contact with Mrs. Bear on Instagram and said he'd be there, and came over, introduced himself, had a nice chat with him as well. Really lovely guy. And there's lots of well-known Commodore people there throughout the day. You may see some of them in these photographs, and of course this video. Unfortunately, I'm not one of these people who's particularly well up on known programmers and developers, unfortunately. So if you come here for that sort of thing, probably some very famous people. I know there's a long list of well-known people. I just know the names, I just don't know the faces. Anyway, let's roll the footage from the photographs, and you can have a quick look and see what it's like. Then we'll come back to the pantry. We'll talk a little bit more about the event, and then what I'll do is I'll show some videos towards the end, which will be me doing a quick tour of the event. You can see it's about 5 minutes of footage there, which we'll put on, and then I'll come back here, and then finally there'll be a bit at the end as well, just to like to see. So let's roll those photos, and you can have a quick look for yourself. So I hope it gives you an idea of what it was like. I mean, you know, as I said before this, the Holiday Inn, that's it. You know, it's a well-known hotel chain. I'm sure people realise that. So let's talk a little bit more about the event. A lot of, like I said, other videos that people have mentioned, and I know some people were a little, you know, disappointed by it. I mean, we didn't decide to go until Wednesday night. Which, you know, this event was announced months ago, and I decided when there were literally 5 tickets left. And there were 5 tickets left because Chris Wilkins, who organised it, put on Facebook there were 5 tickets left. As soon as I bought 2, which must have been about 6 o'clock on Wednesday night, he then posted a post out saying now 3 left. So there we go. So he was tracking what I was doing. But yeah, we left it very late to decide what to do. And I think had perhaps we planned it a bit better. Well, you know me, I leave everything to the last minute, and Mrs. Bear will quite happily testify to that effect. We probably would have had a bit more of an organisation. Reasonably straight journey over for us. It's dead easy from where we are. I mean, there were a few issues. I think the junctions 6 to 8 on the M42 was shut, but we weren't going anywhere near that. And there had been some sort of accident or incident where there was some stationary vehicles. There were a couple of slow down, plus the road work. So we left here about 10 o'clock. I was hoping to leave here about 8:30. because it started at 10, but we left here at 10 o'clock. We got there about 11:15, I think it was. Sean was already there. In terms of, so we saw him on the way in from the side of the road. We pretty much arrived at the same time. In terms of the parking and accessibility, very, very good. Hotel parking is absolutely limited, but to the right of the hotel, there's a massive area for car parking. So it's got quite a decent town centre. Nice long high street. Quite a few brands of shops down there. There's quite a few pubs, coffee places to eat. There's a bookshop, there's an actual bookshop on the high street, and some well-known sort of high street stores. Quite 5 or 6 charity shops if you go charity shop hunting. No CEXs though, but that wasn't the point of the thing there. And it looked quite. I've never been that part of the world before, really. So quite a nice little town centre. Me and Mrs. Bear thought, you could probably come back here, come over here, drive over, have a coffee, do a bit of shopping, sit down, have something to eat, do a bit more shopping, and then go home again, possibly. It's quite nice. Where the hotel was, nice town centre. There was a big roundabout and a sort of a clock in the middle of it. But not bad at all. Not bad at all. The only problem was that I didn't. My biggest issue with it was I don't think the venue was quite right for what it was. I know some people have said that it reminded them of the old computer club or computer enthusiast get-togethers. It's quite, I say, intimate, but not oppressive. I think Mrs. Bear summed it up better when she said it was cramped but not overcrowded, or something like that. I can't remember what she said on the Instagram page. It was like that. That was a good and a bad about it. It was just, I just felt it was the wrong venue. The intimacy. A lot of people criticised the space they had for the Q&A session. The Q&A sessions were utterly impossible to get into. So, I mean, I wouldn't have been bothered with that anyway. But if you were going there to listen to some of the Commodore luminaries, people involved in development and publishing and software houses, you'd have had to be in the seat a long time before the talk started to make sure it was there. And I know that, I think that has been sort of mentioned, that quite really wasn't suitable for what they were trying to do, which is a real shame. But in terms of what was laid out there, I mean, so many different machines, so many different games, everything. A lot of stuff was running off flashcards and emulation for the Commodore. You had to sit there and put a tape in and wait for it to load up. You didn't have to do that. Although there were some tapes in operation for some machines. A lot of it was running off flashcards and emulation. And I think the Amiga section, all the stuff that was laid out there, you could interchange games or whatever. You weren't just limited to the one game on there. You could actually go back in. Some people bought their own stuff and set it up. So in terms of the organisation, absolutely faultless. If you were going there to buy games, not the sort of event you would go to do that. There were more traders at Crashbook because I think it was a bigger venue. There was, I think, Sega Mags were there. Cytronic, the homebrew pop publishing software house, were there. There was, can't remember his name now. Something to do with the adventure game side of things. I think it was a director of Commodore. He was there with a book publisher trying to selling that. There was one trader selling a sort of a mix of more modern stuff, so very little 8-bit stuff. There was something, I think the Retro Computer Museum were there with some items for display, and they're also selling a few bits and pieces as well. So if you're going there to buy, trying to fill any gaps in your Commodore section, it really wasn't the event to go to. But with so many vast choice of games on display, you really would be sport for choice. If you'd gone there with the intention of playing a certain game, you would have been able to do it, not just on the Commodore 64 side, but also and the 8-bit era, but also on the Amiga side and the CD32, the CD-TV. You could play on all those, the Amigas, from 500 up to 4000. They were all there. There were people with custom-made Amigas from the Amiga supporters groups. All customisation brought in. There was homebrew software on display, and again, you could buy a bit of that. You could even sit down and play Commodore keyboard. So there was so much to do. Craig Turner was there with some of his really high-end stuff, including the PlayStation 2, which is built into the Sony television. There was just so much fantastic stuff there. It really was. And I think a lot of people use this to go and meet with people who go to certain groups, or they know from association having the same interest. You know, me and Sean, not to turn it back to me and Sean, but we have an interest in Commodore 64 for us, so it was a great event to go to, and you know, I think we got a lot out of it. And it was a really good day out. I mean, we were there for about 5 hours or so. I think we left about 4:30. Because it's about an hour back and we didn't want to leave it too late. We didn't go to the evening event, other people did, but that was all to do with the music. And again, another Q&A session there about some of the well-known composers. Not my sort of thing, so that's why we only did the one event. So, I mean, on the whole, you know, it was a great day out. We made it what it was. We went in with absolutely no expectations whatsoever. There's a couple of things, but like I said, other people have mentioned that, and I know that the organisers have addressed some of the issues with there, and I think for a first run event, it was fine. I mean, there are technical problems with some of the computers stopping working, people going around, you know, tinkering with them, fixing them, making sure they're all working. I mean, you wouldn't have been short of something to play on that day. So there were some arcades there, some arcade cabinets, some modern machines were set up. There's PS2, Saturn, Neo Geo, Xbox. So there was something there for everybody. Don't get me wrong, you would not have been stuck with playing. And the people from there of all ages, there were obviously people like myself who grew up with it, and they brought their kids with them, young and old, all walks of life. And having a thoroughly good day, and I think if they can get the teething problem sorted out and run another event, you know, next year perhaps, it will be fantastic. I know there possibly is there were talks of a event again later on this year for Crash to do a follow up to last year's event. So if they can do a follow up to Commodore again next year, that'd be brilliant. On the whole, some bits weren't good, but some bits were really good, and you know, I can't fault a decent day out. You know, it was nice to meet some people for the first time, nice to catch up with old friends, and nice to be out with Mrs. Bear as well. And believe me, people were, you know, asking her about repairing this, repairing that. There was somebody we met last year at the Crash who recognised me and came over and said, "Oh, you know, will Mrs. Bear do this?" I said, "Well, you can ask her yourself because she's here." So she was able to get a bit out. I know Craig was talking to her about a couple of bits and pieces as well, so always interesting. I'll show you what was given out on the day. I must say thank you very much to Mrs. Bear for buying me the t-shirt, which I shall keep. That's a nice one, isn't it? Nice one, that one. So the first 300 people got a Zzap goodie bag. We weren't one of the first 300 people, but we were given this by somebody else. So inside, as a part of the goodie bag, you've got a Retro Fusion magazine. I'm not sure if they were random ones or not, or they're the same ones. And there was also a Retro Fusion program, I think, specific to the event. Lots of different articles in there. That was it. Yeah, Vampire Vultures. That was the thing. Or something about the adventure games. I'll just put that on there. Vulture Vampires, not Vampire Vultures. Vulture Vampires. Yes, that's his name. David Pleasance, that was it. David Pleasance was a gentleman who was there, which I didn't recognise. But yeah, he's written 3 books about the inside story of Commodore, which is obviously, if you're into that sort of thing, it's going to be a must-read. Sadly, not my sort of thing. Also got a free a CD as well of Sid music. Zzap Sizzlers. Yeah, that's easy for them to write, isn't it? Zzap Sid Sizzlers. All tracks written and produced by Sid Man, and of course we've got original artwork there by the late Oliver Frey. And so I've not listened to that yet, but I do like a good Sid tune. Who doesn't? There's a little badge as well, which I think we've still got in here, which I think is one of the little illustrations that used to go into the maybe not the dotted all through Zzap magazine anyway. And I think that was it. Yes, that was it. Mrs. Bear also did manage to pick up, because the Retro Computer Museum, or the table next to it, they were selling the Commodore 64 flash cartridge, you may or may not know, called Kung Fu Flash. So this operates on a SD card basis, so you just Same sort of thing, I guess it really is the Commodore 64 Mini. You just whack the SD card in there and plug it in the back of your Commodore 64 cartridge slot, and away you go. Which might be very useful, but you know me, I like to play my games in the old-fashioned way. So yeah, nice little goodie bag if you won the first 300. Like I said, we were given that one by somebody else, which we very kindly appreciated for that. Yeah, so there we go. So what I'm going to roll now is some more footage, which will be the tour of the event, and then we'll pop back here to finish off. Just missed Sean playing Outrun. I'm not sure how he got on, not very well by the looks of it. There he is there talking to Mrs. Bear anyway. Here we are in the main Commodore 64 area. You may not be able to hear this, so I don't know what's going on. There's Matt over there, Witchfinder. Oh God! What are you doing here? You got a ticket? Let's see a ticket. Come on, that's it.
No.
No, there we go. Yeah,
Just walked in.
Just walked in off the street. There we go. Yeah, don't let anybody in here. I tell you, that's what it is. There we go. All these different games set up and everything. So I'll move around.
I don't think there's any other Commodore character.
They show because Craig Turner's round here. There he is. Gives you a real idea of all sorts of different things that are here. Split into two actually, we'll get.
Games out for Mega Drive and selling them.
We'll have a look at the Commodore 64 section round here. You can see got the music maker set up as well. It's all different sorts. Different units. A wide variety of games. Somebody's selling a few bits and pieces here. But it's been split into two. We've got, this is sort of the 64-16 era, and then the other side we've got the Amiga, which we'll show you a bit later. There's some Amiga stuff over there, I think, as well. There's Cytronic Games in the corner over there as well. They've got a stall. It's been very well attended. It's a lot smaller than perhaps we anticipated, but yeah, it's really good. We'll get some footage going other way. Try and splice it all together. Oh, stunt car racer over there, someone looking very studious. Some people vandalising an Amiga there, need to be shot. This is what you probably class as the modern Commodore. Consoles and systems, and Mrs. Bear trying to break a Neo Geo over here. Oh, you can have a go. Just that one game they got on there, is it? If you start swearing, you're going to have to put a pound in the swear jar. Leave it to it. You've got some arcade machines down here as well. You see there. Right. Quite sure who's the guest in the hotel in here, isn't it? But yes, there's a Sega Saturn over there, so obviously we won't be playing on that. got the arcade machines down here. Asteroids there, there's virtual digital pinball. And there's what up Star Wars. And there's Alex from Nintendo Arcade. Chat with him earlier. Good to meet him for the first time. It's actually Archer McLean's millipede cabinet there.
And you can record, all you need is you can record from any sound source, just with a mic or a line in or whatever.
Magnet with cake. Guys, you got past Mrs. Bear on that one. So we're now in the Amiga section. I think Retro Faith made it as well, so. You should start filming something people walk through, don't they? There we go. Lots of different Amigas set up here. Yeah, so you get a fair idea what it was. So I hope you enjoyed that all the way through. Hopefully there'll be another one of these next year. That'd be lovely to do. I'm glad I went. I wasn't, beforehand I wasn't too sure about going or not. But yes, I honestly think, looking back now, I had time to think about it, and yeah, I really did enjoy it. It was a good day out. Nice to meet new people. Nice to catch up with old friends, as I said earlier. And it'd be nice to get some more of these. Gaming markets are great fun to meet people, more of a social thing now. And these are designed around being sort of social and meeting other people who are enthusiastic. And again, great to go to these events and just mingle around and really enjoy it, and to do stuff with Mrs. Bear as well, because she has a real interest in this sort of thing, which is fantastic. So it's nice to be able to do that with somebody very, very important in your life, so it's great. What we're going to finish on, is a couple of old duffers playing games. Yes. The game in question, well, first of all, you'll see me playing Clacks, because I like Clacks. And then you'll see Commodore 16 game called Fire Ant being played really badly. But we hope you enjoy that anyway. In the meantime, thanks very much indeed for watching. Hope you enjoyed that. If you have enjoyed it, please, if you want to do that, it's there for your delectation. It would be appreciated if you did. And I'll be back again very, very soon with another video from the Gaming Pantry. But until then, my name's the Retro Bear. Thanks very much indeed for watching, and we'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.
It might not be immediately.
Scorpion, so you are right. Your soldier is to rescue the Queen Anne. Rescue the Queen Anne has been taken hostage. And then check the Scorpion thunder, let the noise to make
Sometimes finals. I picked that one up, but I don't know how
Scorpions control the chamber to be avoided at all costs.
Yeah.
The eggs represent your only food supply and to be used to keep your strength.
Where's my strength?
It's the journey's had to several things to do